After my stroke left me paralyzed on one side, my daughter-in-law canceled my caregiver and sold my recliner to fund her spa weekend. She said I was just dead weight in her home. When I tried to complain, she cut off the internet and told everyone I was losing my mind. But last week, she walked into the living room and saw. I never thought I'd be the type of person to write something like this, but I need to get this out. What happened to me isn't just wrong, it's cruel. I survived a massive stroke, only to end up trapped in a house with someone who treated me like garbage. And the worst part? It was family. I'm 67 years old. I worked hard all my life, raised my son as a single dad after my wife died of breast cancer when Anthony was only 12. I did the best I could. I taught him to be respectful, to stand on his own 2 feet. I paid for his college, even helped with the down payment on his first house. When I had my stroke, he didn't hesitate to offer for me to move in while I recovered. He said, "Dad, you'll always have a home with us." I believed him. I moved into the spare room in his house in Santa Clarita. It wasn't fancy, but it was safe. I thought I'd be okay there while I worked on getting some function back. I had a physical therapist visiting a few times a week, and a caregiver who came in daily to help with meals, dressing, even small exercises. But his wife, Rochelle, she never wanted me there. Not really. She didn't even try to hide it. From day one, she acted like I was a burden. She'd sigh when she had to help me open a pill bottle. She'd accidentally leave things just out of my reach. She stopped inviting me to dinner with them and would give the excuse that it was too loud, too messy, that the boys needed structure. Anthony was working long hours. He'd leave before sunrise and come back exhausted. Rochelle smiled and nodded around him. But the moment he was out the door, it was like a switch flipped. She became cold, short, condescending. I chalked it up to stress, 2 young kids, a full-time job. But then things started to feel intentional. One Monday morning, my caregiver Lena didn't show up. I waited until noon, thinking maybe she was just late. I called her number and it was disconnected. I panicked. I hadn't showered in 3 days, and I could barely hold a spoon without trembling. When I finally asked Rochelle what happened, she shrugged and said, "I canceled her. You're doing fine on your own." It was a waste of money. I was stunned. I said, "I can't even get to the bathroom some days." She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Figure it out. You're not my responsibility." The next day, my recliner, the one I used to sleep in some nights because my bed was too stiff, was gone. Just gone. I asked her where it went, and she actually laughed. I sold it. Got a little cash. Treated myself to a spa day. You just sit there drooling in it anyway. That recliner was my only place of comfort. It was the one thing that didn't make me feel like I was dying. And she sold it. For a massage. I tried to call Anthony that night. She must have heard me struggling to dial. She came in, grabbed the phone from my hand, and said, "Stop. You're not calling him every time you don't get your way. You're confused. You forget things. You need rest." That's when it clicked. She was gaslighting me. Next morning, the internet didn't work in my room. TV didn't either. I asked her about it, and she told me there had been issues with the wiring. But the kids were in the next room watching Netflix just fine. She wanted me cut off. Alone. Isolated. But I wasn't out of fight yet. I had one good arm, and my brain still worked. I started taking notes on a pad I kept under the mattress. Dates, what she said, when she skipped meals, when she left me alone all day. Then I started talking to the neighbor, Lisa. She was in her 40s, divorced, kind-hearted. She'd wave when I sat near the window. One day, I managed to ask her quietly if she could help me get a phone. She brought me a prepaid flip phone, no questions asked. She even helped me figure out the voice memo app so I could record things. I started getting everything. Rochelle screaming, the insults, the way she told her friends on speakerphone that I was senile, and pissing myself like a baby, which I wasn't. I was still continent. One night she came in drunk, slurring. She stood at the doorway and said, "You know, I wish you had just died. You're ruining my life. My house smells like a hospital, and I can't even host wine nights anymore because people feel sorry for me." I hit record. She stormed off after throwing a laundry basket at the wall. The next day, Lisa helped me upload everything to a shared Google Drive. When Anthony came home that Friday, I asked Lisa to bring him over under the pretense of a health emergency. He came rushing in, worried. And there I was propped up in my chair, with Lisa, a police officer she had called earlier, and a social worker from Adult Protective Services. I hit play on the laptop, And that's when Rochelle walked into the living room and saw us. She froze. I'd never seen someone's face go from smug to scared so fast. The moment Rochelle saw the laptop screen, with her voice blaring through the speakers, calling me a worthless husk, she froze like a deer in headlights. Anthony looked at her, confused at first. Then the audio kept playing. She was saying how she couldn't wait to reclaim her house, and how she'd started looking at private homes where she could dump the old man. He turned to her and said, "What is this?" Rochelle's voice cracked. "That's fake. He's confused. He's been making things up." But Lisa stepped forward and said, "I helped him record it. He's not confused." The social worker, Ms. Ramirez, opened a folder. "We've documented complaints, verbal and physical abuse, withdrawal of care, neglect. You've been reported by a neighbor and we've confirmed the recordings came from this address. We're investigating under elder abuse statutes." Rochelle snapped. "You people have no idea what it's like. I have kids to take care of, a job, a marriage, and he just sits there needing everything like a baby." I said nothing. I didn't have to. The cop, Officer James, asked her to step into the kitchen. Anthony followed. The rest of us sat in the living room, the silence so thick it hurt. 20 minutes later, they came back out. Rochelle had her arms crossed. Her face was red, jaw tight. Anthony walked over to me and knelt down beside the couch. His voice cracked when he spoke. "Dad." I didn't know. I looked at him and said, "You weren't here." He shook his head. "I should have seen it. I'm so sorry." I nodded, but I didn't forgive him. Not yet. That night, I was moved into a temporary assisted living facility while the investigation continued. It wasn't home, but it was safe. They treated me like a person, not an inconvenience. I had regular meals, a clean bed, help with bathing. The physical therapist said my mobility might still improve. But the part that burned? Rochelle started spinning her version of the story immediately. She told friends and family that I was senile, that the stress of caring for me caused her to break. She even suggested to some people that I imagined the abuse. She filed for temporary custody of the kids. Told Anthony she wanted a trial separation so she could get her mental health back on track. I saw it for what it was, damage control. But she didn't know I still had more recordings. She didn't know Lisa and I had also documented every text she sent where she joked about getting rid of the old fart, or how maybe it's time for an accident. The social worker knew. The police knew. And I knew this wasn't over. A week after I moved into the assisted living facility, Anthony visited me alone. He looked like hell. Eyes sunken, no wedding ring. He sat beside me, rubbed his hands together, and said, "There's something I need to tell you, and it's going to hurt." I braced myself. "She drained our joint savings account," he said quietly. "Almost $34,000. It's gone." I blinked. "What?" "She took it before all this blew up. Transferred it to a separate account under her maiden name. I didn't even know she had access. Said it was for a family emergency fund. Turns out, she booked a weekend in Napa. Spa, 5-star hotel, wine tours. Brought her sister. Said she needed to recharge. All while you were still in that room. That hit me hard. Not because of the money, I'd lived poor before, but because she was still spinning this web, still putting herself first, even with her lies falling apart." Then Anthony added, "She also filed a restraining order against you." My jaw clenched. "Against me?" He nodded. "Claims you lunged at her during a mental episode. She's saying you're a threat to her and the kids." I couldn't move the left side of my body. Couldn't even close my fist on that side. She knew that. That was the twist. She wasn't just trying to ruin me. She was trying to erase me. It hit me then. She wanted to provoke a mental collapse. Or fake one. Get me legally declared unfit. Maybe even get power of attorney. I'd seen it happen to a friend of mine in Florida. His son's wife took over, sold his house, put him in a state facility, and pocketed the rest. She was aiming for the same playbook. But this wasn't over. Not even close. Lisa, who had worked in medical administration before her divorce, offered a new angle. "If she's filed legal papers claiming you're mentally unstable," she said, "we can flip that. It's perjury if we prove otherwise. Especially with medical records, therapist notes, and those recordings." We reached out to an elder law attorney. He took one look at the file I'd built. The audio clips, the dates, the notes Lisa had kept, the witness statements from the facility nurses, and said, "This isn't just abuse. This is premeditated financial exploitation." If she forged or exaggerated legal claims, she's screwed. That's when I learned Rochelle had also submitted a fake psychologist report, something she whipped up online, trying to claim I had dementia. She signed the psychologist's name herself. Now it was forgery, a felony. The law was moving slowly, but it was moving, and I had time. I just needed her to walk into one more trap. 2 months later, we got the court date. Anthony had filed for divorce and full custody. The state had opened an investigation into elder abuse and financial exploitation. Rochelle had been served with both civil and criminal subpoenas, and still, she walked into the courtroom like nothing was wrong. Tan from a recent wellness retreat, dressed in designer clothes, acting like she was the victim in all this. She thought she could charm the judge. She thought she could lie her way through it like she always had. But the evidence didn't care about charm. The moment my attorney played that audio clip, her saying, "I wish you had just died," the room changed. The judge's expression hardened. The courtroom went silent except for the scratch of the stenographer's keys. We had emails. We had receipts. We had her voice. And then we played the last recording, the one we hadn't used yet. It was from the day before I left her house. She was talking on the phone, unaware I was recording through the prepaid phone in my drawer. She said, and I quote, "If he ends up in a home, that's a win for me. His social security check? I'll find a way to redirect it. These old people don't know what's happening half the time." The judge didn't even wait to recess. She ordered an immediate evaluation of Rochelle's fitness to have custody of the kids, froze her personal and joint bank accounts, ordered that I be given a full legal review by a court-appointed psychiatrist, which I passed easily. My cognition was intact. Rochelle's forgery was exposed for what it was. She downloaded a psychologist's letterhead and filled in a fake diagnosis. That added another felony. In the days that followed, it all unraveled for her. Her employer, she worked in HR at a real estate firm, was notified of the charges. She was fired. Her friends distanced themselves fast. Word spread in the PDA and church groups. Santa Clarita's a small place when you've burned bridges like she did. Anthony got temporary full custody. He moved out of the house and brought the boys to visit me every Sunday. He's trying. I haven't fully forgiven him, but I see he's changed. Rochelle? She pleaded no contest to elder abuse and financial fraud. Got 18 months probation, 200 hours community service, and mandatory counseling. But the worst part for her, the part one watched with quiet satisfaction, was the court order declaring her unfit to control finances for any dependent adult again. She'll never be able to claim caregiver status for anyone, ever. The last time I saw her was in that courtroom hallway. She walked past me, eyes hollow. She didn't say a word, just kept moving like she couldn't believe it happened. But it did. I may have lost part of my body, but I never lost my mind. And when she thought I was weak, when she thought I was dead weight, I was recording. I was documenting. I was waiting. And in the end, she buried herself.